For those of us who were on the inside, we know exactly how this works. The light gets brighter. The truth is progressive. But what happened at the 2025 annual meeting wasn't just another adjustment. It was a complete, brazen reversal. And if you look closely at the timing, the strategy, and the other announcements made that same day, you'll see this isn't about new understanding. This is about survival. This is about control. And this is about 8 men in Warwick, New York, desperately trying to contain a narrative that's slipping through their fingers. So let's pull back the curtain. Let's examine the contradictions. And let's ask the question they don't want you to ask. Why now? The old doctrine, AI as a threat. For years, we were conditioned to fear technology from the world. Remember the warnings? The internet was a spiritual danger zone, full of apostate lies and pornography. Social media was a trap. Video games would corrupt your mind. Every technological advancement was viewed through a lens of suspicion and paranoia. But nothing, and I mean nothing, was demonized quite like artificial intelligence. Let's go back to the actual publications. This isn't speculation. This is their own written record. In the January 1988 Awake magazine, the organization published an article questioning whether AI could even be considered truly intelligent. The tone was dismissive, mocking even. The implication was clear: humans playing God, trying to create something they can't control. It was worldly. It was prideful. It was dangerous. Fast forward to more recent years, and the paranoia intensified. In 2023, articles appeared on jw.org with titles like Artificial Intelligence, Solution or Threat, and Is AI a Blessing or a Curse? These weren't neutral explorations. If you read between the lines, the answer was always the same: threat, curse, danger. The publications painted AI as the pinnacle of human fallibility. A worldly technology, unreliable at best, demonic at worst. They specifically warned about AI spreading misinformation, creating deepfakes, and deceiving the faithful. AI was portrayed as a tool of Satan's system, something faithful witnesses should approach with extreme caution, if at all. And here's the thing: they weren't entirely wrong to be afraid. But they weren't afraid for the reasons they claimed. They weren't worried about AI corrupting the faith of individual witnesses. They were worried about something far more dangerous to their authority: AI exposing their contradictions. Think about it. For decades, the organization's greatest defense against criticism was information control. If you could keep the rank and file from reading apostate material, if you could keep them away from critical analysis, if you could control the narrative, you could maintain the illusion of consistency. You could memory hole the failed prophecies, the doctrinal flip-flops, the child abuse cover-ups. But then came the internet. Then came searchable databases of every Watchtower ever published. Then came YouTube channels documenting the contradictions. Then came Reddit communities comparing notes. And then came AI, capable of analyzing decades of publications in seconds, identifying patterns, comparing statements, highlighting contradictions that took researchers years to uncover. For the governing body, this wasn't just a threat. This was an existential crisis. Because once you can ask an AI, show me every time the Watchtower changed its teaching on 1914, or compare what they said about organ transplants in the 1960s versus the 1980s, the whole house of cards becomes visible. So they did what any authoritarian system does when faced with a threat. They demonized it. They told you AI was worldly, dangerous, untrustworthy. Don't use it. Don't trust it. Don't let it poison your mind with apostate lies. That was the doctrine. That was the party line. That was 2023. The new light of 2025. The shocking reversal. And then came the 2025 annual meeting. And in one stunning moment, everything changed. From the platform, in front of the entire organization, the governing body introduced their new teaching. Jehovah is the owner of the supreme artificial intelligence. Let that sink in. The same technology that was a threat in 2023, that was a curse, that was part of Satan's system, suddenly in 2025 belongs to Jehovah. The same AI that spreads misinformation is now, when properly framed, divine intelligence. The contradiction is so blatant, so undeniable, that even faithful witnesses in the audience must have felt cognitive dissonance. How do you go from AI is a worldly threat to Jehovah owns supreme AI in less than 2 years without anyone questioning what just happened? But here's where it gets interesting. This wasn't a slip of the tongue. This wasn't a poorly worded statement. This was a calculated, strategic pivot. And to understand why, you have to look at what else was said in that same meeting. Because this wasn't just about AI. This was about something much bigger. The real strategy: control in 3 steps. The 2025 annual meeting wasn't just one shocking announcement. It was a masterclass in manipulation. 3 distinct strategic moves, all designed to address the same crisis: loss of control over the narrative. Let's break them down. Step 1. Admit the error, the pressure release valve. For the first time in organizational history, we heard something remarkable. Samuel Hurd, speaking on behalf of the governing body, publicly admitted, "We need correction." Stop and think about how unprecedented this is. The governing body doesn't admit mistakes. They have adjustments. They have progressive understanding. They have new light. But admitting they need correction? That they can be wrong. That's new. But don't mistake this for humility. This is a calculated pressure release valve. They've been watching the exodus. They've seen the statistics. They know that tens of thousands are leaving every year, and many of them are leaving specifically because they discovered the contradictions. They found the failed prophecies. They compared the doctrinal flip-flops. They saw through the manipulation. So what do you do when people are leaving because you've been caught lying? You get ahead of the story. You admit to being imperfect. You say, yes, we make mistakes, but we're humble enough to accept correction. It's brilliant, really. Because now, every failed prophecy, every doctrinal reversal, every scandal that comes to light, they have a preloaded defense. We told you we need correction. We're imperfect men doing our best. It's the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card. But notice what they're not admitting. They're not admitting to specific lies. They're not apologizing for the lives destroyed by the blood doctrine changes, the organ transplant flip-flops, or the child abuse policies. They're not acknowledging the psychological harm of their shunning practices. They're admitting to vague imperfection, while maintaining their claim to divine authority. It's having your cake and eating it too. We're fallible, so don't blame us for our errors. But we're also God's sole channel, so you must still obey us without question. Step 2. Co-opt the threat, neutralize the weapon. And this brings us back to the AI announcement. Because once you understand Step 1, Step 2 makes perfect sense. They know AI is being used against them. They know that ex-members are using AI to analyze their publications, to document their contradictions, to expose their control tactics. They know that AI chatbots can answer questions about Jehovah's Witnesses with more consistency and honesty than their own literature. So what do? They can't stop people from using AI. The technology is everywhere. It's in everyone's phones. They'd lose what little credibility they have left if they tried to ban it outright. Instead, they do something far more clever. They baptize it. They claim ownership of it. They create a dichotomy between worldly AI and theocratic understanding of AI. By declaring that Jehovah owns supreme artificial intelligence, they accomplish several things simultaneously. First, they neutralize the weapon. If your critics are using AI to expose you, you claim that their AI is the flawed, worldly version, but you have access to the divine version. Any contradictions AI finds in your publications? That's worldly AI misunderstanding divine intelligence. Any failed prophecies AI documents? That's imperfect technology failing to grasp progressive truth. Second, they create a framework for using AI themselves. And make no mistake, they will use it. They'll use it for translation. They'll use it for video production. They'll use it for data analysis of congregation statistics. But now, when they do, it won't be hypocritical because they've already established that Jehovah's intelligence is the ultimate AI. Third, they poison the well against critical analysis. If a witness encounters AI-generated criticism of the organization, they now have a preloaded defense mechanism. That's worldly AI. It doesn't understand theocratic truth. Only Jehovah's supreme intelligence can properly interpret spiritual matters. It's textbook cult manipulation. Take the threat, reframe it, claim it as your own, and use it to reinforce the very control it was threatening to undermine. Step 3. Double down on fear, keep the flock trapped. But here's the thing about admitting fallibility. It creates a problem. If you admit you're wrong, if you acknowledge you make mistakes, why should anyone stay? Why should anyone obey? Why should anyone risk their relationships, their mental health, their very lives for imperfect men who just admitted they need correction? This is where Step 3 comes in. And this is where the 2025 annual meeting revealed its true genius of manipulation. In the same meeting where they admitted fallibility, they made another change. They reinterpreted Psalm 91. For years, this psalm was understood as spiritual protection, a metaphorical promise of Jehovah's care. But in 2025, they changed it. Now, it's a literal promise of physical protection during Armageddon. Do you see what just happened? They admitted they're fallible. They admitted they can be wrong. But in the same breath, they told you that if you leave, you will physically die when Armageddon comes. This is the essence of coercive control. Yes, we make mistakes. Yes, we're imperfect. But if you leave us, God will kill you. It's the abusive relationship playbook perfected to a religious doctrine. They can admit to errors, they can acknowledge imperfection, they can even cop-opt the technologies exposing them, but none of it matters if they can keep you too terrified to leave. And that's what the Psalm 91 change is about. It's not about comfort. It's not about hope. It's about fear. It's about making sure that no matter how many contradictions you discover, no matter how many lies you uncover, you're still too afraid to walk away. And so the cycle completes itself. The technology they feared has become the technology they claim. The AI hasn't changed. The truth hasn't changed. The contradictions haven't changed. Only the narrative has changed, recalibrated and repackaged to protect the only thing that truly matters to them, the authority of 8 men in Warwick. The supreme artificial intelligence they're talking about isn't about technology at all. It's not about divine wisdom. It's not about progressive understanding. It's about control. It's about maintaining power in an information age where power is increasingly impossible to maintain. Think about the bigger picture here. For over a century, the Watchtower organization has survived by controlling information. They've survived false prophecies about 1914, 1925, 1975. They've survived doctrinal reversals on everything from organ transplants to alternative military service. They've survived child abuse scandals, financial scandals, doctrinal contradictions that would have destroyed any organization with less effective information control. But the internet changed the game. And AI is changing it even further. You can't memory hole failed prophecies when they're all digitized and searchable. You can't gaslight people about what the organization taught when AI can instantly compare publications from different decades. You can't maintain information control when the information is no longer yours to control. So they adapt. They admit just enough to seem humble while maintaining all the real power. They co-opt the technologies threatening them, reframing criticism as worldly, and their own authority as divinely backed AI. And they double down on the fear, ensuring that even those who see through the manipulation are too terrified to act on what they know. This is what high-control groups do when they're losing their grip. They don't give up control. They find new ways to maintain it. They evolve their tactics. They update their strategies. But the goal never changes. Keep people obedient, keep people afraid, keep people from thinking critically about what they're being told. The 2025 annual meeting wasn't about new spiritual truths. It was about old patterns of control dressed up in new language. The AI reversal, the admission of fallibility, the literal reinterpretation of Psalm 91, these aren't random doctrinal adjustments. They're coordinated responses to an existential threat to organizational authority. And that's what you need to understand if you're still in, if you're watching from the fence, or if you're trying to help someone wake up. This organization will say anything, change anything, contradict anything if it means maintaining control. The truth is whatever serves the organization in any given moment. And when that stops working, they'll just declare new light and pretend the contradiction never existed. But we remember. The internet remembers. And now, ironically, AI remembers too. The very technology they tried to demonize is now documenting every contradiction, every manipulation, every calculated pivot for control. And no amount of reframing, no claims of supreme artificial intelligence, can erase that record. The Watchtower organization spent decades telling you not to trust AI because they knew what AI would show you, the truth about them. And now that the cat's out of the bag, they're trying to claim they owned the cat all along. Don't fall for it. The AI didn't change. The truth didn't change. They just changed their story. Again.